In this segment, Stephanie Miller is joined by Malcolm Nance. Given the daily attacks on norms, you would think the media would be far more vocal about the threats to democracy. We'll explain why so many are so muted.
The NCAA has complied immediately, by the way. That's good. But I understand Maine. Is Maine here, the governor of Maine? Well, are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with the state and federal laws.
We are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.
See you in court.
Every state, good. I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one. And enjoy your life after governor because I don't think you'll be in elected politics.
Well, you know, the funny thing is I wrote this book in 2018, came out in 2019 called The Plot to Betray America.
Yeah.
And it made the Times bestsellers list for a short period of time on the strength of my great fans. But it just wasn't the strongest of the four books that I had written in terms of sales.
Yeah.
Every literal word I wrote in this is happening right now. And I know others have come out with books that are similar, Seth Abramson and, and other journalists have come out. But I just flipped this open because I wanted to take a look at some of the things that I had predicted. Now, my favorite is chapter 3 called Trump, the Dog to be Walked, right? And it starts off with this. He may talk like an idiot and look like an idiot, but don't let that fool you. He really is an idiot. And that's Groucho Marx. The problem with this is it's about how the Russians led him around by the nose ring and started surveillance on him in 1977. And in 1988, at some point when they brought him to Moscow, it appears that they made a very long-term, strong effort to flip him into an asset. And I've been saying this for years now, that he is an asset of the Russian Federation. But this week, I'm really convinced he worked for the Russians and works for Russia right now.
Yeah. Well, this is why we I particularly, but most of us fell in love with you because you wrote the book, literally, The Plot to Hack America, before the 2016 election. You were the only one warning Putin is interfering in this election to install Donald Trump. And, you were obviously proven correct in record time. But I think for even of those of us that could have seen this coming, it is kind of stunning to watch this, right? Him blaming Ukraine, doing all Kremlin talking points, blaming Ukraine for the invasion of Ukraine. I mean, Zelensky said yesterday, that Trump lives in a disinformation space. The fact that the U.S. held direct talks with Russia helped Putin out of his long isolation. I mean, it is hard to believe the things coming out of Trump's mouth, isn't it? Even for us.
No. Okay. First off, it is not hard to believe what comes out of Trump's mouth. When we think that he is talking smack and talking Russian talking points, Zelensky put it quite well. He is living in the reality that he has been given. He has been given this reality that Russia is great from his first wife, who was from the Czech Republic, who lived in a communist state behind the Iron Curtain. Her father was the guy collecting all of the phone calls and letters from Donald Trump to them. When the kids came there, Ivanka Jr. and Eric came there, they were under the surveillance of the KGB and Czech intelligence. The KGB knew Donald Trump wanted to run for president in 1988 before anyone else knew, and then they invited him to Moscow and treated him like a god. And when Putin came into office and he got the 4-foot-high Donald Trump stack of information, he saw this was a man you could buy. And it's not that I shouted that out in 2016. I shouted out in 2017 with the plot to destroy democracy, 2018 with the plot to betray America. And they want to look, I'm not doing this for my health. Yeah. You can't get rich being an author. I'm just saying you need to understand that when he says this stuff that comes out of Russia, That's what he believes. It's
Yeah.
the only time you will hear the truth from him.
No, he is upending the entire world order. You had an interesting take on it, too. You said, let's be honest, Trump embracing Moscow and selling out Ukraine has nothing to do with the war. Trump wants revenge against Zelensky for the impeachment phone call because he's been a Russian asset for decades. I mean, it all does come down to vengeance for him, doesn't it?
It does. And this really, look, I was waiting for that shoe to drop on the Zelensky thing over the phone call, over when he refused to create a fake investigation of Joe Biden, and when he refused to, when he dropped the dime on the phone call and Trump got impeached for the second time because a president of the United States was carrying out extortion with a foreign power, with the exact same missiles, by the way, which were authorized under Obama in the Congress under Trump, but the same missiles that saved Ukraine, the Javelin missiles. Trump said, you do the investigation or we pull those. Listen, this is all about revenge at this point. And he is going to facilitate Vladimir Putin. I was about to use another word that sounds like facilitate. And he's going to do whatever Moscow does. Listen, my friend Christopher Steele, the British intelligence officer I had a very, very pleasant lunch with a few years ago, the Steele memorandum is starting to look like the Bible, like the pages of Nostradamus.
Well,
it's all coming
Trump
true.